Hello guys. Yesterday we spoke about the introduction of this sensation and responses chapter, and then a little about um, neurons. Okay. Today um, we'll study about the generation and transmission of impulses, and it's really easy. Okay. Let's study about this. And I'd like to say the structure is important. When I was in 10th, I got the same structure for, um, I think, for 5 marks, I guess. So it's important. Please make sure you study that. And it's very easy to draw, right? If you want, I'll teach you how to draw at the end of this class. It's easy. Okay. Okay, let's start the generation and then transmission of impulses. So there's the nervous system manages control and coordination impulses. How are these impulses generated and transmitted through neurons? How are they the impulses? You might be curious, right? How are the impulses are generated and then it is transmitted along the neurons? So let's see, okay? Okay, guys, so let's see. The outer surface of the plasma membrane is positively charged, as you can see in this figure. It is positively charged. It's very easy, see, don't get confused. It is positively charged, and the inner surface is obviously negatively charged. This is due to the difference in the distribution of the certain ions. Okay. Outer surface is the more potassium, and inner surface is more sodium, I guess. Okay, when it is stimulated, like when there's a stimuli, right? Stimuli, any stimuli, either it is vision, smell, taste, or any stimuli, if it is stimulated, then what happens? The distribution of ions in the particular part changes. So the ion distribution is there. No, see here, ion distribution, stimulus, and then what happens here? The ion distribution changed. It became ulta. Outside became minus and inside became plus, positive. So changes and the outer surface becomes negatively charged. This momentary charge difference stimulates its adjacent parts and similar changes occurs there too. What it does, the changes, it gets transmitted. How adjacent part also gets stimulated. That's how it moves. That's how the stimulation moves. The nerve gets the impulse get generated over here and it is transmitted by how the stimulus is there. No, it stimulates the adjacent part and it seems like it is transmitting. Okay, that's what is happening. So next, and the outer surface becomes negatively. Nerve impulses are messages transmitted through neurons. You know, right? The nerve impulses are nothing but it is a message transmitted through your neuron. So indicators charges on either side of the plasma membrane is outside is it is positive and inside it is negative at resting state. Change in the charges of ions when stimulated would be outside becomes negative, inside becomes positive. Ulta. Transmission of nerve impulse is nothing but the adjacent part where the stimulus is applied gets stimulated, and that's there also the changes in ion takes place, and that looks like it is transmitting. So next, okay, next is synapse. Okay, synapse is something that is important. So let's see. Okay, it's easy also. Just listen to me. I'll explain you all in like easy form. Impulses generated in the receptor cells reach the brain. Okay, receptor cells. Through the neurons, it goes, and it reaches the brain. The brain analyzes it and gives direction for proper response. To make this possible, the impulses formed in the neuron are to be transmitted to other neurons and associated neurons. Okay, to make sure it is transmitting, you need synapse for that transmission, right? So it is given in very simple and beautiful way. How does this become possible? The impulses, how does it transmit from one neuron to another neuron in the brain? So let's see how. So analyze this figure. Okay, this is synapse. This is presynaptic knob, and this is postsynaptic dendrite, and there's the cleft that is called synaptic cleft, and the neurotransmitters, that is the chemicals. In previous class, I've told, like, when the impulses get transmitted, at the end of the synaptic node, there's some chemicals. It can be anything. So that chemicals in general is called neurotransmitter. It gets released into the synaptic node. In short, I'm telling, it gets released into the synaptic node and goes and attaches to the dendrites. And dendrites are like a flappy, hairy kind of thing, which has receptors, right? It has receptors for that, and this neurotransmitter goes and attaches to that receptor, and it it stimulates the adjacent neuron. That's how it stimulates the adjacent neuron. So let's see. Synapse is the junction between two neurons or a neuron and a muscle. Uh, junction between two neurons is in the brain, and if it is the junction between a neuron and a muscle cell, it is a TMJ, that is not TMJ, NMJ, that is neuromuscular junction. Neuromuscular junction, that is in the skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscles are thigh muscles, are hand muscles, or whatever actions you're doing, that is because of the NMJ, that is neuromuscular junction. Or neuron and the glandular cell. We have we have different kinds of glands in our body, right? Pancreas, liver, this thyroid gland, many glands are there. So even they need some neuron to get stimulated, to get started. So even they have a junction, that is neuron and glandular cell. When electric impulses from the axon reach the synaptic node, certain chemical substances are secreted from there to the synaptic cleft. Whatever I've explained, they've written in the paragraph form. So whatever I've explained, you just have to convert it into a paragraph. That's it. So these chemical substances are called neurotransmitters. Whatever I've told you. They stimulate the adjacent dendrite or cell, and new electric impulses are generated. Acetylcholine, acetylcholine and dopamine are examples of neurotransmitters. Two examples I've given, dopamine and acetylcholine. Synapse helps to regulate the speed and direction of the impulses. Okay. So next page we have nerve cell, that is muscle cell and glandular cell. That is three types of connections, synapses. So first one is from neuron to neuron. Second one is from neuron to muscle and the skeletal muscles. So this is called neuromuscular junction, and this would be neuroglandular junction. Okay. Here it is, different types of neuron. On the basis of the direction of the impulses, neurons can be classified into sensory neurons and motor neurons. Sensory neurons carry impulses to the brain and spinal cord. Motor neurons carry impulses from the brain and spinal cord to the various parts of the body. It is understood, right? Like when someone hit you and you will sense that pain. How? The sensory neuron from the skin, that is cutaneous nerve fibers, goes to the brain, and brain analyzes like this. All this happens like within a fraction of seconds. That's the speed of the neurons. It's very speed. Okay, that's what is given. Sensory takes the impulses to the brain and the spinal cord and the motor neuron. Like in case you feel like walking, so that is from the brain. You're thinking and you will do that. That is motor. You will do some action. That is motor from the brain to the body, to the skeletal muscles. Okay, next we'll study about nerves. Nerves. Don't you find it interesting to study different kinds of things? Today we'll study um till till brain will study. Easy, right? Spinal cord next class. We'll study nerves and all. It very easy. So let's study. Nerves. You know that the nerves are a group of axons or nerve fibers. They are covered by connective tissues. So what are nerves? See, you have to study this important if you are into the medical field, or like if you want full A plus in 10th standard, you have to study this. If you're into the medical field, please concentrate. This is important. Nobody will come there and tell you what is a nerve. Concentrate. In PU, you don't have much about nerves and all. So in 10th, have some basic knowledge, please. It's important. Like if you're a human being, then you have to know about nerves. If one nerve is broken in your brain or anywhere in your body, you won't feel the sensation won't be there. You won't feel anything. You will feel numb. If someone comes and hits, you won't feel anything. That's how important the nerves are. So you have to know something about it. They are covered by connective tissues. Okay, nerves are covered by connective tissues. Connective tissues is like one tissue. Okay. Um, Nerves are classified into three on the basis of their function. What are they? Sensory, motor, mixed, obviously. And we'll see. Sensory is formed of sensory nerve fibers, obviously, and formed of motor nerve fibers. Motor is formed by motor nerve fibers. Mixed is formed from both sensory and motor nerve fibers. So, what does the sensory nerve fibers do? Carries impulses from various parts of the body to the brain and the spinal cord. Oh, easy. And then motor carries impulses from brain and spinal cord to the various parts of the body. And then mixed nerve. It carries impulses to and from the brain and the spinal cord. It does both. It carries impulses to the brain and from the brain to the spinal cord and the spinal cord. That's it about nerve, nerves. Then let's come to the this part. Now, nervous system. This is really interesting. Okay. Um, the nervous system consists of two parts, namely central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. I've told this in the previous class about the nervous system. The central. Central includes brain and spinal cord, and the other peripheral includes all the nerves spreading into your body. Okay. So it might be from the brain or the spreading through the to the body. The peripheral nervous system might be from the cranial nerves. Cranial nerves, when you're doing medicine or dentistry or any other medical field, you will have to study. So as I told, there are cranial nerves of 12 pairs. The cranial means from the brain, and spinal nerves are 31. Spinal nerves are 31 pairs. So when you're doing medicine MBBS or BDS or any other medical courses, you have to be knowing about the cranial nerves. There are 12 pairs, and yeah, we are studying it. It's important. There are many kinds of cranial nerves like facial nerves, trochlear nerves, oculomotor nerves, trigeminal nerves, optic nerves. There are 12 in number. They are complicated, not required for you all. So, okay, let's study about the nervous system. It's really interesting. Um, done, right? So, let's move on to the brain. Okay, the brain is the central part of the nervous system. Based on the indicators, analyze the figure. This figure. So, they're telling brain has skull, layers of meninges. Meninges is nothing but covering of the brain. Um, layers of meninges. Meninges are three layers actually: pia matter and arachnoid matter and dura matter. Do you have that? I don't think so. You have that. Okay. If you don't have, don't study. Just see. Um, the brain is protected inside the skull. Okay, skull bone is there. Inside that, it is protected. So, brain is like very important organ of the body. It shouldn't get damaged. It's not like your hand or leg, right? Brain, if it gets damaged, it swells and it is fatal. You might die also. So let's move on. It is covered by meninges. After the skull, inside, it is covered by meninges, a three-layered membrane. The cerebrospinal fluid is filled within the inner membrane of the meninges and the ventricles of the brain. Inner membrane is there now. Between that and the ventricles of the brain, it is filled. The cerebrospinal fluid formed from the blood is reabsorbed into the blood. Cerebrospinal fluid is nothing but it is formed from the blood only. Okay. The functions of the cerebrospinal fluid are to provide nutrients and oxygen to the tissues of the brain, regulate the pressure inside the brain, and protect the brain from the injuries. Okay, this is something that is important. Okay, they might ask you what are the functions of the cerebrospinal fluid. One is they provide nutrients and oxygen to the brain and regulate the pressure inside the brain. The fluid is present inside the brain also, obviously pressure inside the brain. And then it protects from the injuries. You know how it protects from the injuries? Like if you hit your head from the frontal part, that is front part, that is from the forehead part. If you get hit from this part, gets hit. The brain will, what happens? You get hit from this part, it will go and the brain is floating actually. Brain is floating in the cerebrospinal fluid. If it goes and hits, it bounces this side. So this side might get damaged. So because of the fluid, it bounces back like this and maintains equilibrium and nothing happens. It might be just floating because of the spinal fluid. Okay. You have to write that. These are the three important functions of the CSF. Um, Here indicators protection of the brain, CSF, nourishment of the brain, CSF, and protection from the injury is also CSF. pressure maintaining is also CSF. So let's study about the parts of the cerebrum. Okay, parts of the cerebrum. Let's study about parts of the cerebrum, parts of the brain. Sorry. There is thalamus, cerebrum, cerebellum, medulla oblongata, and hypothalamus. So first comes cerebrum. That is the largest part of the brain. Okay, yes, the holdings and all is present there. Wherever the memories are stored, that is main thing. Okay, the numerous fissures and folds are seen. The grey colored outer part of the cerebrum is called cortex. The outer part of the brain will be called cortex. That will be grey in color, and white colored inner part is called medulla. So in every the tissues will be divided into cortex. That is outer part will be called cortex. In brain it is grey in color, so that is called cortex, and inner part that would be white in color, right? That is called medulla. Center of the cerebrum. What is cerebrum? It is a center of thought, intelligence, memory. Memory is stored in cerebrum. Okay, and imagination. If you want to imagine something, you can imagine anything, right? You sit in a room and imagine going to a space. Imagination is actually a power. Like if you have a good imagination, you can do anything. I believe. Okay, don't lose your imagination. Okay, so remember, cerebrum helps in thought, intelligence, in thinking, intelligence, memory, and imagination, and evokes sensation. Like if anything danger is coming or if anything is happening, that it evokes your sensation. Like if you're out of your mind, it evokes your sensation, and controls voluntary movements. Like voluntary movements in the sense like whatever movements you're doing in hands, legs, walking, dancing, jumping, whatever voluntary, whatever you can do, that is controlled by cerebrum. So next is cerebellum, the second largest part of the brain, just below the. Okay, so the brain cerebrum is below the. No, not below. It is behind the brain. It is a flappy kind of thing. Okay, it is present in two side of the brain also. There's cerebellum. Okay, cerebellum is very important. Cerebellum is the second largest part of the brain and seen behind the cerebrum as two flaps. It is. And fissures or grooves are also present in the cerebrum. So what's happening here is cerebellum coordinates muscular activities and maintains equilibrium of the body. Maintaining the equilibrium of the body is the main function of the cerebrum. Okay, it coordinates muscular activities and maintains equilibrium of the body. And then comes thalamus. Okay, it is situated below the cerebrum, acts as a relay station of impulses to and from the cerebrum. Okay, this is important in thalamus. Remember, it is situated below the cerebrum and it acts as a relay station of impulses to and from the cerebrum and analyzes impulses from various parts of the body and sends the important ones to the cerebrum. See, not all impulses are sent or sensed by the cerebrum. So only important ones like sent to the cerebrum. So next is medulla oblongata. Uh, we'll study about hypothalamus. Situated just below the thalamus, plays a major role in the maintenance of homeostasis. Homeostasis in the sense like the all the metabolism taking place in the body is called homeostasis, and it plays an important role in homeostasis because hypothalamus produces various kinds of hormones. That's how it maintains the homeostasis. Okay. Next is medulla oblongata is very important. It is rod shaped medulla oblongata is seen. So medulla oblongata, the rod shaped medulla oblongata is seen below the cerebrum, located near the cerebellum. This one, rod shaped one. This is the cerebrum. What it does, first you have to write if it is the largest or not. If it is largest, you have to write. And second, you have to write where it is seen. And then you have to write the importance. So what it does is controls involuntary actions like heartbeat, breathing and all is controlled by medulla oblongata. Okay. So see, this is cerebrum. This is cerebellum. This is thalamus. This is hypothalamus. It's a small gland, hypothalamus. And this is pituitary gland actually, below the hypothalamus. So hypothalamus is also called as a master gland. You should know that because it controls the whole body by secreting many kinds of hormones that is there for you. So after that comes medulla oblongata, which has control over involuntary actions like heartbeat and breathing. You won't know, right? Your heart is breathing. You're not doing it. It is happening on its own. And then the breathing also happens by its own. Okay, that's it for today. We'll see you in the next class. Bye.